Mic check 1 2 1 2. It's the Y2K collector, and I'm here on a Friday night. Hopefully, you have had an amazing weekend. Hopefully, you've been able to make the most of this week and you weren't throttled by the daily stressors and different things that we face during the work week. Here's a question for you. How much do you make an hour? If you could, or here's an even better question for you. How much do you value your time in terms of hours? So what I mean is, if you could put a dollar amount in terms of how much you think each hour of your time is worth, what would you apply to it? Would you apply $20 to it? $50 to it? $100 to it? Do you think your time is worth $200 an hour? When you start to think about how much your time is actually worth to you, it creates a different paradigm when you start to think about how much time you spend hunting for video games in relation to how much time you spend with your family, your friends, your children, loved ones, in terms of how much time you spend building and developing yourself, honing on your own skills, working on projects that are going to help put you in a better financial position, or just things that help you have good mental health, right? Develop good mental health habits, stay in a great mental space. And when we think about game hunting and these amazing scores that we find out in the field and out on the road, you got to think and start to ask yourself, if you tallied up how much time you spent in a given week game hunting, how many miles you traveled, how many steps you took, right? And add up all the hours, and then you add up all of the value that you got from a gaming perspective. And I'm using the word value very carefully because if you're a reseller, right, and you spend 50 hours a week game hunting, and you're able to find, let's say, $1,000 worth of video games, you really only realize that value once you actually sell the game, right? And I think a lot of times when it comes to us YouTubers, and I'm going to throw myself in there, we tend to talk about value of a game, but really you only see that value actualized when you sell that game and convert it into dollars and cents that you can use to buy something else. And 9 times out of 10, the values that you see YouTubers post up are not the value that they're actually going to get out of the games they're mentioning, because you can't go off price charting, and we all know that most people are not paying market price for majority of games that are out there. It has to be something very rare or something very exclusive or something that's like, they're never going to see again. Only then will they probably pay close to market value. But most people, they're looking for 10% off to 15% off at the bare minimum. And if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments. But I don't know anyone who's paying market price for anything. And so if you're a reseller, the actual value that you get from the games that you spend 50 hours a week hunting for is reduced by obviously the time value, the gas value, the wear and tear on your mentals, and then ultimately all of the cost of selling the game, which includes any fees, shipping and handling, and then of course the bargaining and the haggling, right? So if you add all the haggling, bargaining, fees, and shipping, that's easily 20% off whatever your market value is going to be. So that $1,000 that you spent 50 hours in a week working towards actually winds up being about $800 minus whatever you spent to get the games in the first place. And so now you have to say, okay, well, 50 hours in a week to net $600 in sales means I'm working for how much per hour? And I'll let you do the math. But once you do it, you realize that that's not really a lot of dollars per hour. Now, if you're doing it for the fun of it, then more power to you. If you're a YouTuber and you're doing it to make content, even more power to you, because people love to watch that stuff. I think it's a little bit different when you're a collector, though. Because if you spend 50 hours a week hunting for video games or hunting for a specific game that maybe you really want to add in your collection and you actually find it, well, the value there is more intrinsic and you can't really quantify it. You can't put a dollar and cents amount to it because it does something more for you than money can quantify. And at that point, I guess it's subjective and it's up to you whether or not spending that amount of time engaging in game hunting is worth it or not. But as I come to this conclusion and as I start to kind of transition and as the content on this channel transitions, I'm becoming even more and more aware of what I'm spending my time doing, and I'm becoming even more and more conscious of the value of that time and what it means to me. And if we wanted to just keep it to a dollars and cents type thing, well, there's a lot of other things that I could do to generate income at a much faster rate than game hunting, which would allow me to buy the games that I want anyway. So even if there was a very expensive game that was $300, instead of putting in the 40 man hours to go hunt and find for it or to flip and resell for it, maybe I could put in an extra 10 hours at work. Maybe I can put in an extra 15 hours in my side hustle, which is paying other things outside of video games. And I think we got to be smart, right, with our time. Don't allow YouTube to sensationalize certain aspects of retro gaming to the point where it becomes unrealistic and we begin to waste time, valuable time that you will never get back. You can buy a game, sell it, and buy it back 1,000 times. But you cannot do that with time. You cannot do that with precious moments with your friends and family. And you definitely can't do it with life, because each second that the clock ticks, you're getting older. Time is passing. Opportunities are passing. Moments in life are passing. And do you really want to look back 20 years and say, yeah, I spent half of that year in a thrift store? No. You want to look back and you probably want to say, yeah, I spent, this month over here traveling in this country, and me and my girlfriend, or me and my guy friend, or me and my parents, or me and my kids, we spend time learning how to build a shed, or I took my kids out and we flew a kite. Or these are the things that you kind of want to think about. Or again, going back to the intrinsic piece of it, maybe you do want to look back and say, yeah, that was the summer that me and my family, we went to this gaming convention and I got to show my kids what the first arcade system looked like, or I got to show them what a Atari system looked like. They had never seen it before. So like I said, there's definitely a subjective piece to all of it. But when we start to focus on the dollars and cents aspect of it, that's when you have to start really asking yourself, what is your time worth? You don't want to be the person who knows the value of every single video game, but you don't know the value of your own time. It's the Y2K Collector with a provocative thought on a Friday evening. Hopefully you enjoyed this Friday and you're getting ready to enjoy the Knicks versus the Pacers. Hopefully you have a solid and positive Saturday, and I'll be coming to you live this weekend with some hot takes and some more provocative thoughts. Hope you have a good weekend. Take it easy.